Welcome back to SheTech, from dream to career, the place where we're exploring a journey of incredible women in tech and beyond, and uncover the real stories behind their career path. In today's episode, I had the honor of speaking with Stacy, who is the Director of Engineering at Uber. She shared some powerful insights on what it really takes to grow as both an engineer and a leader. From the lessons she learned working at a startup to the importance of time management and why the best leaders knows how to listen, ask the right question, and inspire their teams. If you ever wonder how to balance technical skills with leadership or how to turn mistakes into stepping stones towards success, this conversation is full of wisdoms you won't want to miss. So let's dive in. Hi Stacy, thank you so much for agreeing to give your time to be here. Really appreciate it. So I just want to start maybe with a small introduction just to find out who you are and also what you're doing at Uber.
Sure. My name's Stacy Kerkela, and I lead our internal observability team here at Uber. That means all of the logging and metrics and tracing and alerting that helps all the other Uber engineers make sure that Uber is up and running safely all day, every day.
Oh, sounds like a very interesting job. But how did you get actually passionate about this idea? On one side, engineering, because I know that at the beginning at least it was a very man-dominated subject, but also like maybe on director of engineering, like how did you choose to do that decision?
Sure. So engineering for me has always been about being passionate about solving problems and being curious about how things are put together and making things work a little bit better, right? So that was very natural for me. And then once I started engineering and software engineering when I was younger, I kept falling into roles of leadership, wanting to help the team work together, wanting to bring larger and larger efforts together, and eventually that sort of leads up to being a director.
Oh, very interesting. And can you walk us a bit through your journey and maybe what were the case steps that you do it in order to get to your role?
Sure. So I started out my career in America, in San Francisco, as, of course, a software hands-on keyboard writing code like everybody else. I started at some smaller companies, some in fintech, and then after a few years, ended up at Google, where I transitioned into management and started leading larger teams and went from there.
Sounds very interesting. And looking back, do you think there were like any pivot moment or maybe decision that take you there?
Absolutely. So there are a couple that really stand out for me. One was the decision to move back into hands-on coding in order to actually when I joined Google. And I had been in a management position before that. That led me to some amazing experiences, which led me, of course, back to management. And the second really pivotal moment was the decision to relocate here to Amsterdam. That was to help join a really small engineering office for a startup. And I was able to have a really massive impact building that team, building that office for that startup. But what I really think back is both of those were key experiences that made me better positioned for for the rest of my future, but are also literally the favorite years of my career of all time. Those were some of the best people I worked with, some of the best situations I was in, and at the time they were slightly riskier decisions to make because they were a bit of a non-linear step. But they led to the right outcome, and I'm really so grateful that I made those choices.
Okay, and you said that you're like your favorite years back
Yes.
then. Why that?
Because of the people I was working with, the passion that we took on those challenges, and the impact we were able to have on those teams. Like the work that we did together means the world to me, and those people still mean the world to me. I'm still in touch with a lot of them today.
That's great. And that was like a smaller company, right?
So one of them was a very large company, one of them was a much smaller company.
And which one do you prefer, like smaller or bigger?
It's different for everybody, and I've worked at both. And so Uber right now is, of course, a somewhat larger company. I feel like I'm doing good work here. It's a different experience, and sometimes you just need to, take turns, and fill in those different gaps for yourself.
Yeah, okay, makes sense, makes sense. Going back to your role right now, how is your typical day or maybe week looks like?
So it's constantly changing, but it's a lot of meetings. A lot of them are, some days are very heavy on one-on-ones with my managers, with individual engineers on my team, really focused on a lot of talking. Other days it's spending more time either thinking about strategic decisions or doing more deep dive and group meetings with design reviews and planning, things like that.
And on this like massive a lot of like workload and decision, how do you actually manage to balance like making like technical decision with people management and strategy?
Sure. So I have to really rely on the leaders within my team and really trust and delegate a lot to them. I can't actually lean in on every possible decision to be made, but I can try to make sure I ask the right questions, make sure they're approaching it the right way, and that I've given them the right direction to start with.
And how do you know how to ask the right questions?
Experience.
Experience, okay. And then going back a bit like a more distant, maybe your journey, what do you think is the biggest difference between like being a software engineer and like leading a software engineering team?
So as a software engineer, I was really focused on the problem right in front of me. What could I personally do today? And as a leader, I'm much more focused about how can I keep a large group of people moving in the same direction as efficiently as possible. Really, getting people focused on the right tasks, making sure that they've got the right challenges, and really worrying about a much bigger picture.
And when you're leading a team, are you focusing more maybe on like, okay, what's the biggest goal, or are you also looking like maybe personally, what are their goals in life and like what do they want to develop more?
So it's absolutely important to make sure that you understand the motivations of lots of the people on your team, and so that you know what is going to get them engaged, because a really engaged engineer is much, much more effective, right? But it's also important that you really make sure that we're moving forward together toward the most important goals. And so even if somebody is excited about a project, if it's not going to be the right impact for the company, it's not going to end up having the right impact for their career. And so it's important to make sure that we can be transparent, and I can explain to people how why we're working on things, and help them go after the right goals together.
Yeah, I think transparency is very important, especially like on the tech side, and especially like going a bit upward, because I think sometimes that's missing, and that's like making unclear what's your goal, what to do next. And from this experience, what do you think you love the most about your job?
Gosh, I just love being able to have so much impact on not just my own team, seeing each of them grow and develop and accomplish things, but that the work that we're putting out there is having impact on everybody else at Uber and helping make Uber a better product and a better place. And so hearing from those teams that are using all of the observability products, it really makes me feel great about what my people are able to accomplish and what we're building together.
And that indeed sounds very fulfilling, especially like a lot of people at Uber, I think they're using the tools. And then going from the good part maybe to a more challenging part, what do you think are the biggest challenges?
At some point it does become fairly hard to keep track of that many different people working on that many different things. So it is challenging, especially because I have only been leading this team for a few months. So I had a lot to learn as I came into this role, and a lot of people, a lot of projects, a lot of technologies to really ramp up on. So that's really been the biggest challenge for me with this. And of course, my team right now is distributed across 5 different cities. So it is much harder for me to get to know quite a few of the people on my team, the ones that don't live here in Amsterdam.
And how do you approach this challenging?
I do a lot of meetings, and I get on a lot of planes.
Oh, okay, so you're also going to visit them.
Yes.
Do you think it's very important to also create like in-person connections?
I do think that helps really form a different, level of connection for people. Obviously, we can't all travel all the time. We have both personal lives and responsibilities, and we have to be, responsible with how we spend the budget. But it has been really valuable. It was one of the first things I did when I joined this team was to get to go and visit each of the 5 cities.
Okay, great. And then if you're looking at like very tough decision, how do you think you're approaching like maybe prioritizing some project or like having limited resources?
Sure, that's always a challenge. What I do is I try to have fairly clear principles about how I'm making those decisions, be transparent about it, gather a lot of feedback from within my team and from our stakeholders, some of the most important users that have really passionate opinions about what we do. And then I try and be really clear about what the decision is and try to make those cuts and let everybody move forward together.
So people are very important.
Absolutely.
And then going to more of like a skill perspective, what do you think are the most important technical skills for a leadership?
So the ability to understand what your team is planning to do, why they're planning to do it, and ask them questions in a way that help them make the ideas stronger are the most important sort of technical communication skills for leaders at my level.
Okay, and then I know you have an amazing talk at European Women in Tech about the fact that software engineering shouldn't be about only tech skills but also soft skills. So I'm really curious to see what do you think are the most or top skills that in like the soft skills are really important?
What I would say is obviously I've already talked about communication, but the next most important thing really is about being able to get people, to influence people, get them excited about the vision that you're describing, because having an idea is not enough. Writing that idea down is not enough. Convincing other people that that idea is one that they want to support is really where you need to end up in order to actually have an impact.
Yeah, it's like how you're selling your main idea and also yourself in the end.
Yes.
Okay, interesting. And then if we have like a person that is very passionate about technology, but like also like looking for maybe to go in a leadership position, what do you think there are some steps and maybe like projects that they can work on to maybe make the first steps?
Sure. So the first thing is to be very intentional about how you manage yourself, how you manage your time. If your self-management, self-project management is very buttoned up, very efficient, very clear, that's always a good sign that you're ready to start organizing larger groups of people. And whether that is sort of managing a group project that you're a part of, mentoring an intern, these are all very early steps toward a leadership career.
And do you think there are any tools or maybe mechanisms that you can use to like self-manage yourself?
So there are lots of different systems that have been popular throughout the years, right? And so what's important is to find the one that connects with your own mental style, especially as we've become much more aware of neurodivergence. It's super important to realize that not every system works for every person. So I recommend trying something, and if it doesn't work, try something very different. A very long time ago, there was a popular system called Getting Things Done that was very much about how to minimize interruptions throughout the day in order to maximize your output. There have been a lot of systems more recently. There's endless social media content out there about different systems, and so I just recommend being really intentional about finding the one that matches your own mental structure and maximizes your output.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good. And then I know like we're in like a very fast pace, like technology is evolving, we're in the AI era that everything is changing.
Yeah.
How do you manage to keep yourself like on the loop and also like learning about this?
Sure. So obviously, I'm on several different types of social media, both more professional and more social. And I do get bits of content from that. I'm also plugged into some networks of former colleagues, and I constantly get, hear about new ideas and new trends there, and that's where I get a lot of my research and learning.
Do you ever like do your research on LinkedIn maybe?
Absolutely, LinkedIn is one of them. I'm also on some Slack boards, and so this is where I get a lot of really high quality content shared.
And how important do you think is it to keep that up to date and learn?
I mean, it's absolutely critical. Of course, you need to be up to date on the latest things, especially the last couple of years with Gen AI. If I weren't constantly online, I really would have been less familiar with what the latest trends there were, and that has been so critical for being part of the latest transitions.
I can imagine. And what would be maybe one piece of advice that you'll give to teenagers that is looking forward in a tech career or maybe even leadership?
Sure. So what I'd say is focus on tech first, leadership second. The worst leaders are those who didn't really get the fundamentals down. So really do use this, your educational years, getting that great academic foundation, and wherever possible, get the work experience. Depending on where you're from, that might be a summer internship. It might be a thesis. It might be working part-time through school. I know it's different in every country.
And that's true. And then I have one last question, which is my favorite, and I love to ask everyone, is like, if you could go back to your younger self, one piece of advice that you'll give yourself.
I would say to take my mistakes less seriously, because at the end of the day, I've made a ton of mistakes. My life is fantastic now. And I wouldn't be here without a lot of those mistakes. So I was very hard on myself for some missteps I've made along the way, but each of them has added together, and I'm very happy with where I ended up.
Yeah, so embrace the failure.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for being here and for taking the time.